breeze. My heart was a sigh like a chime that flies from the church on the breeze, to laugh and rock when it trips and falls on the stones on its way, to sing through the night like a love that's learning to break. I go through the hills when my heart is lonely. I know I will hear what I felt before. My heart will be blessed with the sound of music, and I'll sing once more. Du liegst mir im Herzen, du liegst mir im Sinn, du machst mir viel Schmerzen, weißt nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, weißt nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, weißt nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. So wie ich dich liebe, so liebe auch mich. Wie dies jetzt nicht ertriebe, bleib mir in Liebe für mich. Ja, fühl ich allein nur für dich. Ja, fühl dich allein nur für mich. Doch, darf ich dir trauen, dir mit gleichem Sinn. Du kannst auf mir bauen, weißt nicht, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, weißt du, wie gut ich dir bin. Ja, weißt du, wie gut ich dir bin. Und wenn die Ferne mir dein Wesen dient, dann wünsch ich so gerne, dass uns die Liebe vereint. Ja, dass uns die Liebe vereint. Ja, dass uns die Liebe vereint.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I just don't want to panic on the audience. No. Okay. Okay, let's try that.
Every path you know, climb every mountain, sound every stream, follow every rainbow, till you find your dream. I dreamed of the need, all the love you can give. Every day of your life, for as long as you live. Climb every mountain, ford every stream,
Wow, thank you so much. A little sound of music, I like that. I hope you two are doing well. Glenn, do you have a little story for us?
Yes, I have a happy story, John, about random acts of kindness and generosity. Uh, B and I have been doing some clothing collecting, winter clothing and so on for the Scugog moms. So I was in the dry cleaners yesterday getting a new zipper put on a nice sweater, which was a $10 item. It was a great thing, and we had a good chat, socially distant. And I was telling them a story about the sweater and what was going to a 8-year-old who didn't have any winter clothes, and the Scugog moms and where they came from. And he said, well, could you use some comforters for the beds? He said, I have a couple of down comforters that have been here for over a year. He said, I'm just going to give them away or throw them out. If you want them, you can have them. So I have 2 queen-size down comforters, freshly dry cleaned, because I happened to bring up the good stuff we were doing and touched a gentle heart in another place. So it was a wonderful end of my week.
Wow, that is incredible. I love those kind of stories, and that's just perfect for today's program too. We're a little more casual today, and we're going to have just a Rotary Club of Toronto day, and I think you're going to be really impressed with some of the things that you're going to hear today. Jay Lave, hey, I see that on December the 15th, you're having another euchre day. How are those going?
Hi, President John. Not too good. It'll be nice to get some more players if we come out just for an hour or so, if possible. They are fun when we get some people out.
Oh, really? Well, anyone, if you're interested in joining the fellowship euchre night, as Jay says, only about an hour or so, and have some fun with some Rotarians online, virtually, of course. Please reach out to him or Carol to hook you up. And I hear those that have gone have really had a really good time. So I hope if anyone's interested, they reach out to Jay. Thank you, Jay. Who else do I have? Oh, I want to ask Naomi. How are you, Naomi? Naomi Anderson, are you there? Oh, okay. I was just going to ask, Naomi was at the assembly on Wednesday night. I just wanted to know from it as a new member how she felt and how it was an experience for her. Anyways, who else can I pick on? Hey, Daniel, how are you doing today, Daniel?
I am good. Busy time of year. I have a small hobby. It's an online Lego store, and people can't go in stores and buy Legos, so they're buying it online. So it's keeping me off my butt. It's keeping me going to the post office. I'm doing good. Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. You just always come up with the greatest things. That is amazing. I'm really happy. What a great idea. Oh, you have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Oh, Naomi's having mic issues. Sorry, Naomi. Oh, well, I'll catch up from you later and find out what you thought. Who else want to say hello to? The Browns, you're out in the country. How's it going? You're on mute, June. Oh.
Oh, okay, you stop.
There we go.
Yeah, we made the mistake of trying to change the background here, and it's kind of stupid.
We look like ghosts.
Oh, that's funny.
You look like ghosts.
I know. We don't know how to get back out of it.
But typical Canadian comment on the weather.
Yeah.
We've had snow out here all week. but today it's gone. It's green grass.
Oh my God. Well, no snow up here either. Well, it looks like it's time. Thank you very much, June and Alex. Put yourself on mute.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. This is the Rotary Club of Toronto. I'm John Fortney, the club president, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our feel-good virtual Rotary meeting. I even thought, in light of our theme, I wouldn't dress up today, so I hope you're all okay with that. After the invocation and the recognition of traditional lands, please stay tuned for the playing of the national anthem and the loyal toast. At this time, I'd like to recognize that we are on the traditional lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We feel more to understand others. We love more to be loved in return. Cry more to cleanse ourselves. Laugh more to enjoy ourselves. Hear more and listen to the needs of others. Give more and take less. Look more and realize that we are not so different from one another. We need to create a world where we can all live together peacefully. Thank you. Now, our national anthem, if you'd like to, please stand for the national anthem and the loyal toast. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Majesty the Queen. Please be seated. Thank you again, Glenn and Brigitte. Rotarians and guests, before we get started, I should let you know that this meeting is being posted on YouTube. So if you have your cameras on, you too will be in the YouTube recording. It is now my pleasure to introduce our head table. I'm pleased to have the following people with me today. Jeff Dobson, Rotarian since 2001, Classification Investment Management, a club past president, and a member of our transition team. Bill Morari, a Rotarian since 1999, Classification, Club Management, a club past president and chair of our fundraising committee. Jack Robertson, Rotarian since 1976, that's 34 years. Classification, retired. A club past president and our Let's Be Personal speaker for today. Kevin Power, president since 2000. Classification, law practice general. Our immediate past president and chair of our nomination committee. Geoffrey Johnson, Rotarian since 1993. Classification, specialty catering. A club past president and our what was the week that was speaker. Susan Howson, Rotarian since 1991, classification investment dealer. Another club past president and currently our charitable foundation president and one of our guest speakers for today. Vaughn Dowie, CEO of the Pine River Institute, and our special guest for today. Ladies and gentlemen, our head table. For our virtual meetings, we do not have an official monitor to introduce the visiting Rotarians and guests, so I will proceed. I do see that Steve Wilkinson from the Barrie Huronia Club is here. We're always so lucky to have him on a regular basis. I'm sure there are many guests and other visiting Rotarians that I haven't been able to see. So to our visiting Rotarians, thank you for choosing our club for your makeup. We hope that you enjoy the meeting today. To all of our guests, welcome to our virtual meeting today. Please feel free to contact the office and find out how you may be able to make a difference by joining us. Rotarians, please welcome our visitors in the tradition of our great club. As many of you know, on Wednesday, hopefully all of you know, we had our club assembly, and I have to say it was incredible. I'm sure there was some trepidation with people on many fronts. You know, oh my goodness, we're rolling out the new structure. It's COVID, we won't be together. And I think to everyone's pleasure, it was so incredibly well done and came off as good, if not better, than almost any other assembly. And Jason Phelps, or maybe Antonella, needs to be thanked so much for putting it together, and the assembly team. I've gotten so many comments on the presentations and how efficient and knowledgeable each of the presenters were. And I could not be happier with how Wednesday turned out. I've been getting tons of comments about the content and about the delivery. Congratulations to the assembly team. It was really, really a great assembly. And I know that was a really tough one to pull off. So thank you. Speaking about transition, we will have our third transition talk, members only segment, at the end of today's meeting. Past President Jeff Dobson will be presenting our transition committee's service and governance model. The meeting for guests will stop at that time, and if any of our guests are on Google Meet or YouTube, you'll be asked to leave the Google meeting, and the YouTube streaming will be stopped. I wouldn't mind giving a little update. As you know, Benoit and Brenda both have COVID. Like I said last week, Benoit is home, and they're coming along quite nicely. Still not over, but definitely coming along. Unfortunately, we have another member who also has COVID, Sergio. His wife has COVID, and he's got symptoms, and I don't think his wife's doing very well. I know they're waiting, but possibly going to hospital. He told me I could share that with you. So please keep all four of them in your thoughts and prayers. And if they want to reach out by email or say hello or send best wishes, by all means do. And I will keep you posted as they give me updates. Our district would like to let you know that every second Tuesday of the month from 7 to 8 p.m., you are invited to connect on their online district Tuesday talks. Each month they have a different topic, and this month is environmental action. So all of us get emails from the district. So if you're interested, please check out the topics, and if something of interest to you, by all means, please just feel free and sign up. And if it's something I think you're interested in, I send it to you. I hope you don't mind the double sending, but it's only in case you missed it, you might be interested. Up next, we have our past president, Bill Morari, chair of our fundraising committee. He'd like a little minute of your time. Bill?
Thank you, President John. What a challenging year it's been for all of us. And our Rotary Club has done an amazing job adapting to this new normal. And congratulations from me to the board and all of our members who put in so much hard work and countless hours to make everything work. We're keeping our club together by doing things like this, and it's fantastic. So well done. You know, what's even more exciting for me is the change that is coming as laid out at the club assembly this week. The transition plan for our new model will improve the way the club operates. And with this new structure, I think we've really set ourselves up to succeed. And for that, I'm extremely excited. Part of the new plan includes how the fundraising element will impact on our philanthropic efforts and will assist us in supporting the many, many great causes our wonderful club works on each year. Our traditional way of raising funds has tied our hands this past year. We've already had to cancel our fundraising event at Steam Whistle Brewery twice, and most likely, and I'm pretty sure of that, our next scheduled one in March will be canceled as well. But that being said, we're still working on many ways to make something happen, including some very exciting projects, including working with Progress Place that will raise funds, but just as importantly, raise the Rotary Club of Toronto profile in the business community. Now, in addition to that, I've received lots of exciting other options for virtual fundraising in our new world, and they really all have great potential to succeed. And I truly believe, and I feel, that it will surpass what we normally raise annually. But we do have one small problem. We need your help. We're definitely looking for new committee members, perhaps with some different skill sets, but I'm not too worried about that. What I really want is your enthusiasm. That's what's going to help take us to the next level in our fundraising efforts. One of our newer members, Naomi Anderson, has just joined us, but don't worry, we have lots of room for others. We do have a meeting taking place next Tuesday, December 1st at 5 p.m. And if you want to come by and check out what we do, just send an email to me and I'll send you an invite. We normally do meet on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m. And I'll look forward to the time when we're able to do it in person, because those meetings usually take place at the National Club, and I can entice you with a little glass of wine and a nibbly on occasion. Once again, we have some really exciting ideas to fundraise, and they're really going to support the very important work our club does. And we really want to be in a position to help as many causes as we can. But we can only do this if we work together as a club and are successful at raising money. There is light at the end of the tunnel, and I, by nature, am a very optimistic person, and I truly believe we have a very bright future. So thank you, and if you're interested in coming and see what we're about, please contact me. And now back to you, President John.
Thank you, Bill. I've actually caught wind of some of these blanks. I know that these are some really exciting presented, so I look forward to seeing what you come up with. And I really encourage, if any of you have any interest or excitement, fundraising was my baby when I first joined the club, and it really is a great committee. So please reach out to Bill. Now it's time for our Let's Be Personal speaker. Jack Robertson, over to you.
Thank you, President John. I'm presently enjoying retirement despite the pandemic, but I did work until I was 86 and then handed my business to my son Robert under the name Hospitality Uniforms and Supplies. To go back a few years, I joined the RCAF on my 18th birthday and left the Air Force as a pilot officer navigator 1945. No overseas experience. I entered the University of Toronto in September of that year and was graduated in 1949 with a Bachelor of Commerce. I joined a company, Cassidy's Limited in Montreal, the principal importer of Chinaware for household use and for the food service and hospitality industry. I became their principal buyer in 1953, traveling to England, Germany, Italy, and Spain. In 1960, I entered Japan, and in 1965, to China. These trips were twice a year, each for 4 to 6 weeks each. Not a happy situation for my wife. In the 12 trips to China, I will always remember a different China that we see today. Quite a difference from the 60s. I left Cassidy's in '71 and returned to Toronto, where I incorporated Jack Robertson Sales Limited initially representing manufacturers of Chinaware and glassware. Many changes since those years. In 1956, I met Al Feckelstone, a member of the Rotary Club of Toronto, and who invited me to lunch. I was impressed by the four-way test. Here was the opportunity to help those less fortunate than me. I was accepted as a member, and in those past 44 years, I have made some wonderful friends and have provided service locally and internationally, at least modestly. I was on various committees in my early years, then found the Seniors Committee, where there was a great satisfaction organizing the delivery of meals at Easter and Thanksgiving to the disadvantaged seniors, with the help of some great volunteer drivers and helpers. These same drivers would drive our seniors' guests to the seniors' Christmas party at the Royal York Hotel. Another great Rotary event is Camp Skugog, maintaining the camp for needy children, painting and carpentry. Who could imagine Marine Bird as a carpenter? Such an opportunity to be helpful and make good friends. Work overseas included sweat equity trips to Malawi and Africa and Cambodia, organized by Chris Snyder, building schools and improving teachers' cabins. The Rotary Club of Toronto has added greatly to my life. I miss the Friday meetings for so many personal contacts, but life goes on. Back to you, President John.
Thank you, Jack. I thought those years were a little light. 44 years in the Rotary Club of Toronto. That is amazing, and we're all the richer for it. Thank you so much. I just love hearing these stories and where people have been and what makes them them, and their passion for Rotary is always the pinnacle. It's wonderful. If any members wish to get on the list to be a Let's Be Personal speaker, please contact Don Bell. Okay, who's up next? Past President Kevin Power, Chair of our Nominations Committee, up next with the results of the Nominations Committee ballot. Kevin?
Thank you, President John. End of November, John, you're almost halfway there. But it is almost that time, you know. So it may get a little warm under the collar for you shortly. That's not what I'm here for today. 2020, definitely much different than in past years. In past years, we would have been at one of our Rotary Club lunches where we would fill in a paper ballot to select the members of our nominations committee. But this year we've changed and we conducted that vote by email over the past week. And I am very pleased to share with everyone today the results of that vote. So, without further ado, on this year's nominations committee, we have Valerie Clark, Anna Kaniva, Jay Littlejohn, Earl Polisipo, and Jonathan Wu. And our past presidents have nominated past President Susan Hunter. So the nominations committee will be meeting virtually shortly, and you'll be hearing the results very shortly as well. Thank you very much. Back to you, President John.
Thank you, Kevin. I want to thank all 10 people who stood for nomination and congratulate the winners. For those of you who haven't done this before, nomination is really quite a fascinating time, and you get to really see how the operations work on electing the president and directors. It's a really great experience. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Kevin, for organizing it. We promised you a feel-good agenda today. So on that note, I present to you past President Geoffrey Johnson.
Good afternoon. Welcome to That Was the Week That Was, a roundup of the week's news. The top story this week, obviously, is the club assembly. Seeing the structure of the club being torn down and rebuilt by these young whippersnappers to produce a more efficient operational process. Fabulous, absolutely fabulous. But the thing that got me was the technological know-how of Rotarians. I think their technological know-how in the last 6 months is accelerated by 10 years. They're all like millennials now. But a couple of members joined us from our cars. Michelle was on Dundas. I was on the Allen Expressway when a police car zoomed by, swerved past me with its lights ablaze. Now that was a different zoom. Here's a sad story with a terrific outcome. A migrant boat capsized in the Mediterranean en route from Libya. 15 survivors were picked up by local fishermen and taken to a refugee camp. A maritime NGO, Open Arms, found the wreckage with the bow sticking out of the water. In it, they found a rucksack full of clothes and 2 wedding rings with names engraved inside. Well, don't you know, the NGO find Ahmed and Dawdu, Algerian citizens, and return their rings. There's an omen here. They will be together forever. Here's a crazy thing in the news. Denmark killed 10 million minks due to COVID. The police were responsible for their burial. The dead minks have decayed and bloated, and this has caused them to pop up out of the ground. I have a mental picture of the Danish police playing whack-a-mink with their truncheons. It's just things I think about. Here's another European story. These Europeans, I tell you, they wish they were North American. There's another European story. Czech police are seeking a deer that turned the tables on hunters and snagged a rifle on its antlers. The deer, startled by a dog, ran towards one of the hunters, tore his sleeve and caught the strap of a .22 caliber Hornet rifle on his antlers and ran off with it. Oh dear. Now this one gets me. Closer to home, Trudeau got a prank call from 2 Russian comedians in January this year. You may have remembered it in the news. It was televised in Russia this week. A woman was posing as the young environmentalist Greta Thunberg. 2 stunning revelations for me here. 1, anyone can claim to be a celebrity and speak to our Prime Minister. Next week, I intend to put this to the test. I'm going to call the Prime Minister's office and tell them I am John Fortney and see how quickly I get through. Number 2, the woman playing Greta mentioned 2 characters from a cartoon show called South Park. The second time she mentioned their names, Terence and Philip, Trudeau twigged and hung up the phone. Now, my point is, we have the leader of the 2nd biggest country in the world watching cartoons with such intensity, he recognizes their names even out of context. In retaliation, I placed a call to Putin yesterday, and I said I was Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. I was told by his assistant, stop calling, the check is in the mail. 4 Ontario government workers have been accused of defrauding the province by $11 million, which was destined for the support of families to defray the cost of learning at home. All 4 were employed by the province's IT department. They set up 400 false accounts with BMO and deposited 10,000 checks. All defendants are from the same family. When questioned, one family member said the checks were from their tenants. The prosecution said it's reasonable to believe their tenants did not have 10,000 children. How on earth did they think they'd get away with this? I mean, this is mindless, right? Now, sad news. Diego Maradona, one of the world's best ever soccer players, died this week. A larger-than-life character on and off the field. One can never forget the hand of God name given to him for handballing a goal against England in the 1986 World Cup quarterfinals. The goal was allowed, which allowed Argentina to go on to win the World Cup. The English thought it was a retaliation for the 1982 Falkland War. Maradona, you entertained the world, possibly the best soccer player ever. May you rest in peace. I've saved the best to last. Yep, you've guessed it. It's Donald. When my kids borrowed a toy from a cousin and wouldn't give it back, Mrs. Johnson would slap their wrists. They soon gave it back and they learned a life lesson. I guess Donald was unloved and undisciplined. But my thoughts go from the person who has turned the office of the presidency of the United States into a reality show to how cultists and conspiracy theorists have swarmed around him like around a porch light on a July night. The best is QAnon, a far-right group of supremacists, huge Trump supporters. They believe some well-known political leaders eat babies and traffic children. The Proud Boys, another far-right fascist group, overlap with a QAnon, only males, and want to be Donald's private militia. Antifa, a far-left decentralized group acting in autonomous selves, want to disrupt the right-wing groups, white supremacists and fascists. Trump wants them to be designated as terrorists. All conspiracy cults. Another disturbing factor of Trump's administration is the most bizarre one I've heard yet. And this was from my partner Diana and a girlfriend. They believe that Trump and his men in their youth were responsible for President Kennedy's assassination. I had to agree with them, otherwise they would have argued with me all night. Now here's a quick culinary moment because I've got to slip it in. We are now right in the middle of the mandarin, tangerine and clementine season. They're at their juiciest and sweetest, like Mr. Dobson. Now, what I do is I buy all three, keep them in the fridge, cut them in half and then chew out the middles. It's absolutely stunning. Right now, they're incredible. Try this one. Try to do that, but buy all three and taste each one after the other so you can really distinguish the flavor. And squeezing the juice of these into a little Lillet or Aperol or Pinot de Chardonnay is just absolutely wonderful. When you buy them, look for the smallest ones. They have more intense flavor. Over to you, John. Back to the studio.
Thank you, Geoffrey. Your talks are always very entertaining, though somewhat disturbing. Thank you, Geoffrey. This is our usual guest speaker slot in the agenda. Today, we're changing things up, and I'm going to start off and share some history with you about our club. Then I'll pass the agenda over to our foundation president, Susan Howson. One of our goals of our new structure is imagination. There's no lack of need in our city, now more than ever with COVID. The Rotary Club of Toronto for 108 years has been at the forefront of confronting, in many cases solving, or starting the conversation and gaining action, and up to now what have been dormant issues or worse, issues that have been swept under the carpet. In our early years, we were the founders of some of Toronto and even Canada's greatest charities. The list includes United Way, Care Canada, Easter Seals, Youth Employment Services, the Lachlan Center for Seniors, which in the 70s was the largest project ever taken on by a Rotary Club anywhere in the world. In the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, we were the first to give money to June Colwood for the new
John, you're muted. Just unmute, please.
Oh my gosh. You missed all the good stuff. I will start again. My apologies. All right. One of the goals of our new structure is imagination. There is no lack of need in our city, more now than ever with COVID. The Rotary Club of Toronto for 108 years has been at the forefront of confronting and in many cases solving or starting the conversation and getting action on up to now dormant issues or worse, issues that have been swept under the carpet. In our early days, we were the founders of some of Toronto and even Canada's greatest charities. The list includes the United Way, Care Canada, Easter Seals, Youth Employment Services, Lachlan Centre for Seniors, which in the 70s was the largest project ever undertaken by a Rotary Club anywhere in the world. In the beginning of the AIDS epidemic, we were the first to give money to June Colwood for the new AIDS hospice she envisioned, Casey House. In 2020, you have no idea how revolutionary that was in the early 80s. The Rotary Club of Toronto's stamp of approval brought in others to what has become a world leader in HIV/AIDS treatment. There are more, and you're going to hear about a few of them today. When I joined the club in 1999, we had already embarked on a program of providing health care to the homeless. This was something no one else was doing, and dare I say, many people never even thought about or probably cared much to know about. From what I hear, one of our presidents at the time, I wish I knew exactly who, and if someone knows, if you want to put it on the chat, wanted our club to tackle this issue. The idea that the idea that won the day was a bus that could roam the streets and provide care to homeless people where they were. One of the issues for the homeless is distrust or fear of institutions or large places like hospitals. We called it the health bus, which we did with Wellesley Hospital. I'm not 100% sure of the next bit of timeline, but I believe when Wellesley Hospital closed, it was moved to the Doctors Hospital, which ultimately became the Sherbourne Health Center. We've had a great relationship with Sherbourne since then. The health bus was groundbreaking, as most of our projects tend to be. People came from around the world to see how it worked. It was a huge success. A lot of issues we might consider somewhat minor can be greatly exacerbated if not treated in less than hygiene circumstances. The important thing is that the homeless community trusted and used the health bus. This was inaugurated just before I joined. The second phase of our program was the Rotary Club of Toronto Transition Center at St. Michael's Hospital. Another groundbreaking idea that brought more people here to see what we were doing. It is a simple concept. When you or I go to the emergency department at the hospital, we have a warm, safe home to go back to with a bed, if needed, to recoup. If you're living on the street, you don't have that luxury. The Transition Center is located right next to the emergency department, and after treatment, patients that need it can stay there for up to, I believe, 18 hours. There's food, clothes, counselors, beds, whatever is needed. If follow-up visits are required due to the initial visit, they can also come back. This was a $555,000 project. I believe this was far more successful than anyone could imagine. In 2002, our third prong to healthcare for the homeless was to build an actual infirmary at Seton House, the largest shelter in Canada. This, again, was a novel idea that garnered a lot of attention. The facility offered 3 forms of service: diagnosis, treatment, and hospice. This was a great partnership between the Rotary Club of Toronto, St. Michael's Hospital, and the University of Toronto. One of the amazing aspects was that students from the university, med students, could work at the infirmary and they earned an urban medicine certificate. Again, novel stuff. This was a $350,000 project. Unfortunately, Seton House has been recently closed and slated for redevelopment. The health bus, we've replaced 2 times since the initial bus, and each time with changes, adaptations learned from the previous one. The second bus was actually 2 smaller buses that was felt could reach more people. Our last version, Health Bus 3.0, was launched about, I think, 2 years ago, maybe 3. We went back to the bus and to 1 bus, and 3 of the most noticeable upgrades were 2 treatment rooms instead of 1, handicapped accessibility, and a fridge so they could store vaccines at the absolute correct temperature. So flu shots or whatever could be given out to the homeless. Another improvement was that they now included a medical health professional on board, counselors. This most recent bus was another $350,000 gift, I believe. Many of us attended the official launch at Sherborne Health Centre. Another great day for the Rotary Club of Toronto. Many of you have noticed that St. Michael's Hospital is undergoing a huge renovation and expansion, which necessitated the demolishing of the transition center. The hospital and the club felt that the transition center was such a necessary element for the hospital and the community it served that they wanted to include a new one in the renovated emergency department. Your club, as many of you know, has committed another $500,000 to make sure this is possible. We also facilitated a further private donation of another $50,000 towards this project. The center is currently still under construction and will be for a while. While all this is going on, our club is gaining reputation as the go-to for homeless issues. Our own John Andress, along with 2 friends, started Project Warmth around 1997, which collected sleeping bags and blankets for the homeless. Seems common now, but at the time it was novel. If anyone remembers problems that erupted at Tent City south of Lakeshore, it was the Rotary Club of Toronto that mediated between the city and the activists to come to a peaceful situation. Again, largely John Andress. We also noticed that the shelters were spending a lot of money laundering their bedding. We started Gateway, the laundry facility operated by the shelters, which along with doing their laundry and saving money, it's also a training facility which ultimately helps people get jobs. We have amazing assets in this club, the limitless imagination of our members, the generosity of our charitable foundation. We're hoping the new structure with its working groups, advisors, past presidents council, and streamlined processes will allow us to continue and grow this great tradition. You know, you probably noticed a lot of the words I used were novel, groundbreaking, attention grabbing. This is what we do. We go after ideas or problems in the city that need to be fixed, quite often problems that no one wants to deal with because they're not trendy or sexy or don't really serve anyone else but this very vulnerable sector of our population, and we fix it, or we find a way to fix it and we bring others in. So I think we all should be very proud of what we've done and excited about what we are about to do and continue to do. Now, I give you the president of the Rotary Club of Toronto Charitable Foundation, Susan Howson. Susan?
Thank you, President John. To continue with the news from the foundation regarding COVID-related grants, some background first. The foundation moved quickly in the spring when the shutdown started. It was agreed to set aside a COVID grant fund up to $300,000. These funds were to be used to offset the sudden increase in expenses for charities and not-for-profits. They have no volunteers now to make and deliver food. Programs had to be changed from in-person to virtual, which included huge expense. An extra expense was needed, also incurred for sanitizing and protective equipment. And of course, as we all know, fundraising stopped. The foundation has dispersed $100,000 to about 10 charities for the above named issues, and $100,000 was given to the Rotary Toronto Philanthropic Fund for the various committees to disperse to the NGOs that they have been dealing with. Additionally, the foundation agreed to match any donations that were made, and we received about $34,000, which the foundation is dispersing, and $34,000 was given to the Philanthropic COVID Fund. Recently, the Foundation's COVID Review Committee approved $10,000 to Christie Refuge Welcome Center, which is open 24 hours a day and, of course, has serious need of extra funds. $10,000 was granted to the Victim Services Toronto for their emergency high-risk domestic violence response project, which, again, as we have been made aware in the press, violence within the homes has increased. Now, a little history to continue with what John was saying. Over its 100 years, the members of the Rotary Club of Toronto have been very innovative and willing to tackle subjects that many do not want to talk about. John Fortney has talked about some specifics regarding physical and mental health. Our members have also tackled women and girls being exploited for sex, homeless people who need shelter to learn new life skills and medical care, HIV, seniors issues, youth unemployment, youth addiction. None of these are sexy, none of them are glamorous, and most of these groups that are dealing with them do not have huge foundations. We, the members of the Rotary Club of Toronto, have given our time and our talent to help make a difference to those in need. The Rotary Club of Toronto Charitable Foundation has supported many of our members' projects. This story started in 1993. Marg Andras, wife of our member Ken, started work at Donwood's, an adult addiction center. Through her, it was brought to the club's attention that resources for youth with addiction problems was very minimal in Toronto and the province of Ontario. There were 4 beds, apparently, at Sick Kids. That was it. A committee involving Jack Robertson, Ron Crane, Tony Houghton, Michael Morgan, and of course the Andrases was struck, and plans to work with YES, our youth employment services that we started, to solve the problem were initiated. Unfortunately, things didn't go as planned. By year 2000, there was a very successful urban peace conference run by our member, Michael Morgan. He met a very young woman, Andre Kosovan, and heard her story of living on the streets with addiction issues. She had recovered from her addiction and was trying to get on with her life, but she wanted to help others who had been in or who had potential to be in the same situation that she had found herself. And she wanted to produce a film called Letters to Street Child, which the club helped her do. Imagine a 20-year-old recovered addict presenting to the members of the Youth and Children Committee, mainly old men at that time. Andre spurred Michael and others of the club to revisit the issue of the serious lack of resources for youth with mental and addiction problems. A club task force, we are very good at setting up focus and task research to try and determine what needs to be done, resulted in research and recruitment of others in the City of Toronto, not just members, who wanted to help solve this lack of resources for youth with addiction issues. The result was an incorporated entity in 2001 with charitable status. By 2006, with continued support through volunteer hours and funds from our foundation, Pine River Institute was able to open its doors. The program was so successful that Pine River now receives permanent funding from the Ontario government and many visits from the groups who want to emulate this program. The foundation has supported the thousands of hours our members who worked to help create Pine River, with a funding over $400,000. It gives me great pleasure to present to Fawn Dowie, CEO of Pine River Institute, an additional check of $100,000 to the Institute so they can continue with their youth addiction programs. Over to you, Vaughn.
Thank you so much, Susan. And Susan gave you a pretty good overview of the relationship between Pine River and Toronto Rotary. And, you know, it makes me think of, you know, when I was thinking of coming here today, I was thinking, well, I didn't actually come anywhere today, but anyway, as I was thinking of sitting here today, it made me think of the role that godparents play. You know, that when a child is born, there are people who stand beside the parents and say that they will support the development of that child as that child goes through life. And this is a little bit the relationship that we've had at Pine River with the Toronto Rotary, both the Toronto Rotary Club and the foundation as well. So I won't repeat what Susan said in terms of the history and the important role that Rotary has played in the development of Pine River. I'll give you a little update of where we are right now and where this money will be applied. So we currently, as Susan mentioned, get support from the Ontario Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care. We serve currently 36 youth at any point in time, 29 of which are supported by the Ontario government. And that is the good news. The bad news is that for those 36 beds, we currently have a wait list of over 220. So it speaks a lot to the need for our kinds of services. As we looked at that gap, it became clear that we needed to be able to provide service to more people. And to be able to provide service to more people, we needed more space. So we are currently in the final throes of a construction project to build a second dormitory that would increase our capacity by 24 youth. All of this money has been raised philanthropically. A very important part of this is the support that we've received from Toronto Rotary to get us there. And the great news is that we have continued this construction project through COVID on budget and relatively on time. We hope to have the construction completed in the month of December, which is only sometime next week. Once we're there, we will then have the capacity to move. Have the capacity, instead of for 36 young people, we will be able to serve about 60 young people. So I want to thank you, Susan, and I'd like to thank all of our honorary godmothers and godfathers in Toronto Rotary who have gotten us to this point, who stood with us as we continue to grow. On behalf of the entire Pine River community, which is our staff, our board, the young people we serve, the families that they come from, thank you oh so much for your help. And over to you, President John.
Thank you, Susan and Vaughn. It's an incredible facility. It's just so sad that there's still such a huge waiting list, and hopefully other groups can start doing and build maybe another Pine River. It's unbelievable. That thank you for coming today, Vaughn. And I'm going to regret this, but Geoffrey, I think, has one little thing to add. Geoffrey?
Thank you, John. Sorry I couldn't get my mouse working. It was asleep. I have a small joke. I'm not very good at telling them, and this one's needs an Irish accent. And be Jesus, I can't do an Irish accent, you know. So there was a lovely old fella, and he retires and he moves to a small village in Ireland. He spent his days in what the Irish call a local pub, a little pub. So he finds himself at a lovely pub and he spends his time drinking and reading the paper and chatting with people, having a nice day. And they love him. They love him. Now, he's got one idiosyncrasy. Whenever he goes into the pub, he orders 3 pints all at the same time, not one, and he has them all at the same time. So finally, after the 4th night, into this, the bartender says, "Can I pour them fresh for you? So you can have, we can take the head off it. It'll be a lovely thing." So he says, "Oh, really? He says, "No, it's a ritual in my family." He said, I can't do that." He said, "I've got to have 4 pints." So he says, "I made a pact with my brothers. When we drink together." So the bartender says, "Ah, where are your brothers?" So he says, "I have one on the high seas. He's a mariner, lovely, lovely man. And the other is, I believe, in Bahrain in the moment, and he's working in the oil fields. So we all drink together. I guarantee that if they're drinking with me as we speak." Bartender says, "It's a lovely idea. It's a beautiful thing." So this goes on for another fortnight. That's 2 weeks for the uninitiated. And then he comes in and he says, "Can I have 2 pints today, please?" The bartender says, "Ah, certainly, sir." Oh, and the word goes out to the village, and they're all afraid to ask him because they believe one of his brothers has kicked the bucket. So flowers and cards start coming in, and this continues for a week or so. Finally, the public insist the barman finds out what happened. "Sir, could I ask you?" And the man says, "Yes, but before you do, are we having a holiday?" He said, "The flowers are beautiful, the cards are lovely, and being new to the village, what is the holiday?" The barman says, "Oh, no, sir, it's not a holiday. The cards are for you." "For me? Mother of God, why?" "Well, we've been reluctant to ask you, sir, which of the lovely boys you've lost." He says, "What do you mean?" He says, "The 2 pints. Is it the mariner on the high seas or the fellow in the oil fields? Which have we lost?" He says, "We've lost neither. Oh, God, I've just given up drinking myself." That was it.
Oh, Geoffrey, you always keep a smile on our face. Thank you. On Friday, December the 4th, our guest speaker will be Andrew Phillips, and he will be speaking about the American election. This should be a very interesting meeting. Members, feel free to invite guests to our Friday Rotary meetings. Just have them contact the office so we can admit them to the virtual meeting. For our guests only, thank you for attending our meeting today. We will be asking you to leave the Google Meet meeting now so we can start our transition talks with our members. For our members, please do not exit the meeting. After a few minutes, we will start our 10 minutes off transition talks. And on that note, while people are leaving, I will pass things over to past president, Jeff Dobson. Jeff?